All right, so now we're going to get into the meat of this chapter 7, which is integrating our internal job structure. And remember, that's going to be your internal consistency with those external market pay rates that you get from your salary survey so that you can be externally competitive. So in order for us to attract and retain staff, great staff, we need to make sure that we are both internally consistent and externally competitive. And we can look at that through a tool called regression analysis. And all that this regression analysis is a linear relationship between two variables. So the question is, what are those two variables in determining pay rates? So now let's go back to when we did that pay structure exercise. And that was when you all looked at different pay grades, pay ranges, and you got to see how the whole pay structure fit together. So what did we look at? We need our job evaluation points, internal consistency, our own internal job structure, the hierarchy within the organization, okay? So that's what we're looking at on our x-axis. Then on the y-axis here we have salary. And what we looked at before was internal, but now we want to know what is the market paying. So this is going to be from our salary survey. And when we compare those two things, what we're coming up with is what's called the market pay line. So this market pay line represents, we're looking at the typical market pay rates. Could be means, could be medians, but as we already know, should be a median, right? Most likely is the median, relative to our own internal job structure. So what I want to show you as well is that pay structure exercises. Let's also go back to the job evaluation exercise that we just did in chapter 6. So that was where we were looking at the healthcare system. And you guys looked at all those job descriptions for the 6 jobs, the 6 benchmark jobs, and then you assigned job evaluation points to those jobs based on the compensable factors that were in that job evaluation guide. Remember? So here are the 6 jobs. Here are the points that you all assigned to them. Here's our annual salary internal. This is what we pay already. The hospital system is paying. And then the salary survey is what the external market pays here. So now I've graphed that out. And the blue dots are the market survey, the salary survey data. The orange dots are what we pay internally. So this orange line here is our internal job structure, those points, those job evaluation points compared to our internal salaries that we pay for those jobs. And you can see that our R squared is 0.96. That is really high. So that's this question. What is R squared? So R squared is correlation. And it ranges from 0 to 1, where 0 says there is no correlation at all. Those two variables, job evaluation points and salary, have nothing to do with each other. And then a correlation of 1, an R squared of 1, says that, in fact, all the variation that you might find in market pay can be explained by our own internal job structure. So this is very close to 1. So our own internal salaries are very consistent. However, the blue line here is the market pay line. So now in the market pay line, remember, we're looking at the salary survey data compared to our own internal job structure. Here, this correlation is 0.42. So that's telling us that 42% of the variation of the market pay can be explained by our own internal job structure. That's a middle of the road correlation. Not great, not horrible. So it might give us something that we should be examining. So let's look a little more closely. Let's look at this. This right here is what's called the regression formula. This is the regression formula for the external. Y is predicted salary. So we want to be able to predict the salary that we should be paying based on the rest of this data. This 27,187 is what's called the y-intercept. And what we're saying there is that this 27,000 would be if we had 0 job evaluation points. That's where we're going to start, right here. You can see it drawn out, right? Or drawn out here, sorry, the blue line drawn out here. $46.75 is what each job evaluation point is worth. So again, if we go back to chapter 6, the crunch the numbers problem that you had was looking at these different jobs for this particular job structure, job evaluation points, and then the market pay. For this, it was $111 was for each job evaluation point. That's all we're doing here is we're looking at each job evaluation point. So for each job evaluation point in the external market, it's $46.75. However, for our internal wage curve, not the market pay rate, but the wage curve, it's $65. So it has a much larger slope, and that's a steeper slope. The $46, it's the slope here, and it's a lesser slope. So what are we looking at? Looks like down below, we do a pretty good job of matching the market, really. And then we're above the market. So here we're below the market. Now we're above the market. If we examine the individual point, we know that this is that nursing, the staff nurse job. And we are, on that data point, are way off. If we wanted to match the market, we would say, we would put in the 165 points here, okay? And we would come up with a different number. So let's do that. Let's go 46.75 times, whoops, I forgot my plus sign, times 165 points. We add that to the 27,187. To come up with 34,900. And so what's interesting with that is that if we just look at this market pay line and that 165, we're right on that market pay line. The problem is that the rest of the market probably doesn't really see that a staff nurse has so little value, so little compensable factors. So that's where we're going to have to really examine that. What are we doing? Is our nurse different than the other nurses? The same is true here. If we go all the way to the end, if you look at the market pay line, our orange dot is right on it. But the problem is that the market for coordinator of emergency services is way down here. So what does that mean? Is our job description accurate? Should we change it? Do we need to evaluate, do job leveling? Remember what that is. Job leveling says maybe our job, we have the same job title, but our job description is different than somebody else's job description. So we need to level that out. Those are the types of things that you need to look at.